you go. Oh, I think it's binding on that side.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not gonna.
Not gonna work?
No. Yeah, it's just actually rotating the whole frame down. If it had a swivel.
Yeah, but yeah, we need a
Peg for that.
need a big peg for that one.
Just sit there for time.
Okay. That's minimum. And we're way down. A whole heap of, that's 10W30 motor oil. There's a whole heap of those in there.
Gun oil.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
These neat little bottles.
so, yeah, pretty cool. It says it's okay.
It says it's okay.
We'll have a look and see. Oh, I get it. So it's about to tip out.
Yeah,
You can see
beautiful.
it. Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
That is a nice sounding tank.
Yeah. Even from this end, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Good start.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
How's she handled, Jace?
Beautiful. Drives really nice.
Today we've got the newest exhibit into the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum. This is the Swiss Panzer 68. This is the upgraded version from the Swiss Panzer 61. 68 stands for 1968, when the Swiss government approved the purchase of the first 170 vehicles, starting from 77700 for the serial numbers. They were produced from 1971 to 74 for that first batch, and then from 1974 to 77 we go into our second batch of 50 vehicles. And our vehicle, being this serial number here, is within that sort of second batch of vehicles, so it's about 20 from the end. They also made another couple of batches in all of about 110 vehicles right up until about 1977. So all variants of this vehicle, there's about 390. To compare it to the Leopard, this vehicle is about 23 centimetres narrower than a Leopard. It's about 5 centimetres shorter than a Leopard. It's about 5 centimetres higher than a Leopard. Its mobility is very comparable. The Leopard was about 62 kilometres an hour. This is about 55 kilometres an hour. So it's still a fast tank. Both tanks comparable to each other are more a defensive type of tank. They were very quick, and the gun for their time was very good. The armour on this, quite good. I'm still trying to verify the actual thickness of these, but being fully cast, it's said to be anywhere between sort of the 80 to 90 millimetre mark in thickness. However, due to its curvature of the front hull and the turret, it's said to be up to 120 millimetres thick. One of the easiest track adjustment systems I've probably come across. There's a cover here that opens up, and it's got a little notch in here. This notch actually aligns with the castellated nut. This shaft goes in here, this ratchet goes on, go clockwise or anti-clockwise to loosen or tighten the track. Along with further development from the Panzer 61 to the 68, we've changed our tracks. The 61 had a 50 centimetre wide track, which was all steel, manganese. Now we've got a 52 centimetre track now with rubber pads. So it gives us our ability to drive on roads without tearing up the asphalt. These little rusty things are additional grousers that we can throw in the track itself to give it additional traction in snow and mud. These are placed every 5 track lengths. As we come down the side, very interesting suspension system. So this is the Belfield rod and spring system. It's also got a hydraulic dampener inside as well. So within this cavity here, we have 7.1 litres of oil, which is the same oil that we use in the engine for this vehicle. A couple of hydraulic bump stops along the way. This is where the crew would load all the main armament rounds. So they would literally be passed through there. Stowage bins, there's 7 in all. This is full of CES. It came to us fully kitted out, so it has all the CES in these bins, so it's actually a very complete tank in its original form. This has the BA 500 V8 diesel engine. This has about 660 horsepower, coupled with a new transmission as opposed to the Panzer 61. So this has now 6 forward and 6 reverse gears. Now its only drawback is that it only holds 710 litres of fuel, so about 338 in each tank, with about just over a 30 litre supply tank as well. Can only get about 240 kilometres, so the fuel efficiency on this vehicle, not so great if we compare it to what the Leopard can do as well. Like most armoured vehicles, you have an infantry tank telephone, and this is very similar to the system that we did have on Leopard as well. He can use just the intercom, so he can talk to the commander, or if he wants to, he can lift this button up and he can actually talk over the radio system. This box here has our wired DON 10, a portable infantry telephone, so he can run it out and he can then talk directly to the crew. So this will come out and it will sit on this casing. What we're looking at is a licensed version of the British L7 gun. So this is the Panzer Canon 61, the 105mm gun. It fires high explosive squash head, which we would fire on Leopard. We've also got APDS, and we've also got APDS fin stabilised rounds for use in this vehicle. Notably, the fin stabilised rounds have a lower muzzle velocity of about 30 metres per second lower than the APDS round. This is the Bofors Lyran 7.1 centimetre projector. There's a lever here, and we raise it up. So each click you can hear is 5 degrees. They set it at about 45 degrees. The little flares, the illumination flares that we have, have a few settings. So they can go from 400, 800 to 1300 metres, and they also have an additional charge that they can use to go out to that furthest distance. Time of flight for this projectile is anywhere from 5.5 seconds up to 16 seconds, but the actual flare will burn for a maximum of 30 seconds. We have the gunner's primary sight, so this is a fully stabilised sight, and he can shoot effectively out to about 4,000 metres. Now, in conjunction with his sight, we have the talimeter sight, which is essentially the same as a stereoscopic sight. So we've got it on both sides, and this is where we measure distance from our vehicle to the target, and then that information is relayed to the gunner. There is a range scale in here which the commander can use, but the gunner can also use that as well. Later versions, when we go into the Panzer 68-88, is when they change this whole sighting system, and we go to a sighting system that was built under license, which is essentially the same as what's on Leopard 2 with the laser rangefinder. This is the loader's position. We have the MG 5171. So this is 7.5mm, so this replaced the 20mm cannon that they had on the previous Panzer 61. They carry about 4,000 rounds. They've got two 500 round boxes. One is actually fitted to the mount, the other one is in the turret itself, and you can actually swap them out very quickly. So we've got 1,000 rounds on board for the coaxial machine gun. He also has the same machine gun up here. Now the machine gun, the MG 5171, looks very similar to an MG 42 in design. There's a couple of minor changes that they did along the way, but notably, instead of being made using pressed steel components, this is machined. So the gun is actually about 4.4 kilos heavier than the MG 42. Now he's got a nice little function for his cupola. Got a little clip here, so he can rest on it, and he can quite easily move his whole cupola around as he wants to use the gun. Down by the left-hand side, he's got some perforated barrel jackets. So as the gun fires, because it fires about 1,000 rounds a minute, once those barrels get hot, he can pull the barrel out and he can put it in the perforated barrel jackets down the side and also inside for the coax, so they can pull down without burning any of the crew. Also on the turret, next to the perforated barrel jackets, we have the 76mm smoke grenade dischargers. These are pretty much the same as what's on Leopard, and they can fire a smoke canister, what we would call the DM15, out to about 17 metres in front of the vehicle. This is where the commander sits. This part here, what we used to use on the Leopard as well, part of the VIC-1 harness, so it's an American designed radio harness, so we can talk with intercommunications to the crew using their crew box. Along this side here, we see some of the ports or the loading positions for the illumination flares. As we move around, this component here is part of the elevation mechanism. So this is where the gun goes up and down on this rail. As we move along, we have the radio system. Now we have two radio trays here. The Swiss called it the SE412 radio. What we would know it commonly as is the RT524. So it's a VHF set, so you have one either side. Interestingly, when they were using this vehicle, there were some faults that tended to appear. And one of these faults is when you keyed the radio, the RF frequency from this radio would interfere with the gun system itself, so to make the sight jump. On Leopard, we had an RF filter box, which got rid of that, but the Swiss were said to have a number of issues with this tank, and the radios interfering with the gunnery system was one of those. We have more flare holders in this position here. And what threw me initially when I got in this vehicle was this panel, just here. It just looks like a green panel, but it's actually a cooling system for the hydraulics. It works the same as an intercooler on an engine. It just literally cools the oil for the hydraulics.
How does it do that, do you know?
It's a number of fins with inside. Okay. Right. So it literally is a cooler, so the oil would move over those fins and dissipate the heat.
And that's all set up within the turret?
Within the turret.
That's so strange, wow.
We've got the case ejection port, so obviously when the gun recoils, the rounds are captured and they can literally throw it straight out the side. This is his first of his 500 round bins that I was talking about, and these just clip off the side, and there's another bin right behind me. This is the ready rack, so this is where 12 rounds of the main armament stand up. So you'd have them in this position here. So again, a very cramped space is what I would call it, because this is the smaller turret of the Panzer 68 family. And down either side we have our 20 rounds either side that we can load in. On the Leopard we have the horizontal opening breech, so we'd have a BML, a breech mechanism lever, which we would pull open and the breech would slide sideways. On this we have a vertically opening breech, so this one would go into the down position. There is a handle down the left hand side here. He could use his hand, or alternatively he could probably use his foot depending on the elevation of the gun, and push down and it would lower the breech, ready for the next round to be loaded. One of the gunner's control panels, so within that he can actually activate a little wiper blade for his sight. There's a little rubber grommet that actually provides water to put on his sight as well, so he can clean it. This is part of the telemeter system, so this is where we find the range from our vehicle to the target, so it's a stereoscopic rangefinder. The gunner's magnification is 2.7 and it goes up to magnification of ×8. We got this vehicle from the Swiss as a trade for one of our Matildas. This is a fully operational vehicle, so if you want to take a ride in this vehicle, it will be available for AusArmour Fest 2023.